What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel. Today, what I'm going to be doing for you guys is reviewing the college football playoff semifinal games. Alabama versus Notre Dame in the Rose Bowl and Clemson versus Ohio State. A rematch from last year's epic semifinal in the All-State Sugar Bowl. Both these games were hyped up coming in to last night. Both of these games were very hard fought on both sides, and I'm going to be talking about both these games, giving you my opinions and a tiny preview on the national championship game. But before we do that, hey, if you guys are new to the channel, do consider subscribing. Most of you guys that watch my videos are not subscribed. It would mean a lot if you could turn that red subscribe button gray. Also ring the bell so you know when I upload. Leave a like on this video. Please comment your thoughts on this video at the end or throughout this video, and share this video with everyone you know. I'm trying to grow the channel as big as possible. It'd mean a lot if you could share the video with everyone you know who likes college football as much as you and me. And with that being said, we're going to talk about the Rose Bowl first and then talk about the All-State Sugar Bowl, and again give you a little preview on the national championship game that will take place on January 11th in Miami. Well, here's your first semifinal in the Rose Bowl game. The first time it's been played out of Pasadena since 1942. That was the year of Pearl Harbor. They played it at Duke University, and because of COVID, they moved this to AT&T Stadium in Dallas. It featured the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama was the huge favorite coming into this game, the biggest line ever in a college football playoff national semifinal, and they did not disappoint. Your final score was 31-14. The Alabama Crimson Tide played their way to the national championship game. Let's talk about how they did it. We're going to start on the Notre Dame side of things. I said that Notre Dame, if they were going to win this game, a couple things needed to happen. One, they needed Ian Book and the defense to play the best game that they have ever had. But then they also, offensively and defensively, had to throw looks at Alabama that maybe they weren't prepared for, like throwing a little trickeration on offense, disguise coverage on defense, disguise blitzes on defense. They had to do some things to confuse Alabama. And while on the defensive side, they didn't really do a great job of that. They just came out and played Notre Dame defense. Brian Kelly was, I think, a little more confident than he should have been, although what else is a coach going to do, and be confident in his team? I feel like he had Notre Dame prepared well, but not well enough. And on the offensive side, they moved a lot of guys around on the line of scrimmage, like a lot of motion, like the tight end would move, the tight end group would move from one side to the other, and a lot of motion in the backfield, but not a whole lot of tricky plays, not a whole lot of plays that Alabama didn't already prepare for. A huge reason why Notre Dame only scored 14 points is because they couldn't get past that Alabama defense. A, because the Bama defense is outstanding, and B, because they just didn't show anything new. They came out and they played basic Notre Dame football, and it's what Alabama was expecting. And Ian Book did not have the game of his life. 27 of 39 for 229. Didn't throw a touchdown, did rush for one, but threw an interception as well. Kyron Williams got involved, 16 carries, 64 yards, a rushing touchdown. And that was your only two scorers for Notre Dame. The leading receiver was Michael Mayer, 7 catches for 62 yards. And the tight ends and wide receiver group didn't really become involved for Notre Dame until the second half. When it was out of control in the first half, Notre Dame, well, it wasn't completely out of control, but when they were down by 14 going into the half, it didn't feel like the wide receivers were that involved. It felt like they had more to give, and they tried to, but the Alabama defense just said no. And on the Alabama side of things, we've already talked about their defense a little bit. They played an outstanding game. When you look at Mac Jones, 25 of 32, 297 yards and 4 touchdowns, you see why he's in the Heisman contender. But the Heisman was won by Devontae Smith in this game. 7 catches, 130 yards, 3 touchdowns. He seemed to catch everything that Mac Jones was throwing to him. Devontae Smith, ever since Jalen Waddle went down with the injury, has played phenomenally. And Alabama did not seem to miss their starting center at all. And, of course, he's going to be out for the national championship game as well. But Alabama, to me, was underwhelming in this game. I thought Alabama could have come out and played a better game. I thought they could have come out. I thought both teams could have come out and played better than they did. I thought Alabama wasn't as dominant as they were in the regular season. And I don't know if that were to be a tribute with the fact that they feel like they could take a day off, because that's not how Nick Saban coaches. Nick Saban coaches like every game's a national championship. That's just what Nick Saban does. He's one of the best, if not the best coach in college football history. But Alabama was not as dominant today. And I think you could see Nick Saban said, yeah, we're going to be happy with the win, but we got a lot of things to work on. And I agree with him. There are things in this game that Alabama didn't do as well as they did in the regular season. So while they may have won this game and the scoreboard may tell you it was a nice dominant performance, Alabama just wasn't the dominant team that they normally were. And they totally backed off in the second half. Gave Notre Dame a pity touchdown toward the end. This game was more wide open than you'd think, but it was also a mismatch, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions. But Alabama could have been more dominant, in my opinion. Watching this game, I was watching saying, man, Alabama's doing well, but they're not doing as well as I thought they were going to be playing. You know, like Notre Dame didn't play particularly well either, but Alabama, in my opinion, could have been more dominant. I've said that like at least 5 or 6 times. I know, I'm sorry. But I truly do believe it. Now, the Heisman was won by Devontae Smith. I know I've already said that, but again, you can't say that enough. Devontae Smith has come in and played absolutely outstanding for this Alabama team. He deserves every good thing that is going to come his way. He has played absolutely outstanding. We'll see Bama on January 11th in Hard Rock Stadium. But now, who are they going to face? Well, the All-State Sugar Bowl was a rematch from last year's playoff semifinal in Glendale, Arizona, the epic back-and-forth semifinal game, probably the best semifinal game in college football playoff history up to this point. And this one was going to be like the same. This one was going to be a hard-fought, heavy-hitting game, but it was really controlled by Ohio State for most of the game. 49-28 is your final score. The Ohio State Buckeyes dominate the Clemson Tigers in the All-State Sugar Bowl, which makes Ohio State 2-0 when they play in the Sugar Bowl for the playoff semifinal. Now, we are going to start on the Clemson side of things because Clemson could have played a better game. I mean, it wasn't a bad game by Clemson overall. Like, Clemson played, I think, the best that they possibly could have with the way that they prepared. But Trevor Lawrence had a good game, but he didn't have a great game. 33 of 48 for 400 yards. That number's going to stick out at you, but 2 touchdowns, an interception, and a fumble as well. Now, he did fight to try to get that fumble back, but just couldn't get enough control on the ball. The interception, of course, late in the game. But the thing that hurt Clemson in this game is they couldn't run the ball. Travis Etienne had 10 carries for 32 yards, and that was their leading rush for a touchdown as well. Now, Trevor Lawrence had a rushing touchdown. You see Etienne was productive out of the backfield as a catcher as well. But how about the game Cornell Powell had? I thought Amari Rodgers would be the go-to guy, but Cornell Powell has had a heck of a season. 8 catches for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns. But Clemson just couldn't run the ball. I believe on something like 28 carries or somewhere around that number. It was in the high 20s. They only had 44 yards. That's a little bit over a yard per carry. Ohio State's defense did a great job of winning the line of scrimmage defensively, especially offensively too. We'll get to them in a little bit, but Clemson just couldn't run the ball. Overall, they were outgained 444 to 632. Ohio State put on an offensive show in this game. Now let's move on over, or let's talk about Clemson's defense for a little bit. I feel like we can't do that without talking about Ohio State's offense first. So that's what we're going to do. Justin Fields was outstanding in this game. With the subpar regular season that Justin Fields has had, subpar, of course, for Justin Fields standards, it was still a fairly decent regular season. But for Justin Fields, there was so much coming in this game about Ohio State having chips on their shoulder and what Justin Fields did last year and what Justin Fields did this, Justin Fields did that, Justin Fields draft stock dropping, whatever. He came out and he proved every hater wrong last night. Last night was the night where Justin Fields proved himself. He proved himself last night. 22 of 28, 385 yards, 6 touchdowns, and an interception. And what my stats don't tell you is that Justin Fields, when he was passing the ball down the field, was incredible. He was incredible. I believe on passes 20 yards or more, I think he was something like 6 of 9 or 7 of 10, something like that. I know on passes 30 yards or more, he was 4 or 5 with a couple touchdowns. He played great. And even after taking that hit from James Skalski, by the way, talking about that hit, I said it in my Ohio State fan reaction. I didn't feel like Skalski was doing anything intentional. As a college football fan, I think James Skalski is a great defender and an absolute leader on that Clemson defense. But he shouldn't have dipped his head. If he would have kept his head up and hit Justin, it would have been a nice football play. Again, I don't think it was anything intentional, but lowering the helmet is something that we have to get rid of in today's game. It's just really dangerous. And of course, it hurt Justin Fields here in this game, and you really don't want to see anybody get hurt on both sides. There were a couple points where Clemson players were getting hurt, and I said, buddy, come on, get up. And of course, I'm an Ohio State fan, but I don't like to see anybody get hurt. I like it when both teams are at full strength. It makes for a more compelling game. But of course, shouldn't have done that. Got thrown out for it. Of course, there are a couple people that have said that shouldn't have been it should have been a penalty, but he shouldn't have got thrown out. That's just the letter of the law. There's no really saying that. But even after Justin Fields got that hit, you could see him grimacing in pain. And after the game, he said, yeah, man, my ribs are killing me. But he came through and he played like a warrior. He fought through this game, and I would not be surprised if a report came out saying, hey, Justin Fields is playing through a cracked rib or multiple cracked ribs and then something else. It's not going to surprise me, and I don't think it's going to keep him out of the national championship game either. Now, when you go beyond Justin Fields, Chris Olave had a great game back. The offense got the tight ends involved. Jeremy Ruckert caught 2 touchdowns. Luke Farrell caught a touchdown as well. But Trey Sermon carried over that 331-yard game momentum. He had 193 yards on 31 carries for a touchdown. There were a lot of points throughout this game where I was watching Trey Sermon and I said, yep, he's down. And he wasn't. He was breaking tackles really well. He wouldn't go down. He was fighting for every single yard in this game. And that's what I love about Trey Sermon, is he is going to fight for those extra yards. Now, Ohio State defense, I don't think it's getting enough credit in this game, because 49 points is a big flashy number, and 49 points is like, wow, that's a lot against a good defense like Clemson. But the defense stepped up. They won that line of scrimmage against Clemson. They forced Trevor Lawrence to get out of the pocket, and especially when it came to the run game, they were outstanding. It took a couple drives for Ohio State to get Clemson's offense figured out, but after they did, they played lights out. They played outstanding. And overall, both of these teams, I feel like Clemson could have played a little bit of a better game, especially running the football. But for Ohio State goes, this is the best game that Buckeye fans have seen all year. Again, I talked about it in my Ohio State fan reaction, but Ohio State played lights out. This is the best that Ohio State has played all year, without a doubt. And they absolutely earned this win. They were fighting through all the haters saying they didn't belong, all the haters saying, remember what happened last year? All of the haters saying that they're going to get blown out by Clemson. It was going to be a competitive game, and Ohio State turned it on its head. The one thing this game didn't have was like a big momentum swing like last game, where while Clemson was up early in the game, there wasn't really a point where you can say, okay, here's where Ohio State won the game. It was really just a gradual kind of Ohio State found their rhythm and they were able to play their game. But Ohio State played the best game that they have played all season. Hands down, without a doubt. They win the All-State Sugar Bowl and get their first ever win in program history against the Clemson Tigers. People were calling this a rivalry. It's a rivalry now. Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, That's going to continue to the next level. Trevor Lawrence looks like a shoo-in for #1 pick. I wish him the best of luck in the NFL. Can't wait to see him wherever he goes. And as for Justin Fields, I honestly don't know yet. Probably going to go to the NFL. We'll have to see what he can do in the national championship game. Speaking of which, here is the updated bracket. Of course, Alabama beating Notre Dame, Ohio State beating Clemson. This is what I predicted in the early season. It's also what I predicted in my predictions. Folks, this game is going to be a lot of fun. This game is going to be a whole lot of fun. Alabama, of course, the #1. They're the 7-point favorite as of looking at it last. I think the over-under is like 76. It's expected to be a high-scoring game. But I got to tell you, this game is going to have a lot of hype. This game is going to have a lot of college football fans excited. This game has me excited just talking about it. This is going to be a fun one. This has the potential to be game of the decade. This has the potential to be game of the century. This is going to be an absolutely phenomenal matchup. Alabama and Ohio State. If both of these teams can play the way that they played in the semifinal, it's going to be amazing. If Alabama can look more dominant, if Ohio State can continue to what they did against Clemson, this is going to be a phenomenal game. As an Ohio State fan, I'm very excited to play Bama. This is the first time they're going to face since the playoff semifinal, the Sugar Bowl in 2014, where Ohio State ended up beating Alabama en route to a national championship. It's going to be very interesting to watch for sure, but the hype surrounding this one is going to be insane. I will give you guys a huge preview and prediction in the upcoming days. In about a week's time, I will give you a preview prediction. But thank you guys so much for watching. Again, like I said in the beginning, if you enjoyed, leave a like. Also consider subscribing if you're brand new to the channel or you just enjoy my content. Turn the notification bell so you do not miss an upload. And you can join Tailgate Nation. Also leave a comment down below. You can tell me your thoughts on this video and your thoughts on these games as well. Also share this video with everyone you know. I'm trying to grow the channel as big as possible. It would mean a lot if you could share this video with everyone you know who likes college football as much as you and me. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I will see all of you guys tomorrow with my New Year's 6 bowl game review. Goodbye.